Hello, this is Lisa Hazard and Misty Lure with the podcast We Are All Psychic. And today we have Allana back. And that is just so exciting to me. I can't stand it. We've been talking for about forever before we just okay, we have to start because we got so much stuff on here already. We've been talking.
I know, we got a lot to cover today.
So Allana, do you still think we're all psychic?
Yes, I do. And I think more and more every day, I believe that to be true. We're just all learning to tap into it, and it's becoming a little bit more talked about. Right. So I think people are understanding that it is a thing. Yes.
that's what we're doing right now. We're talking about it. And then
that's right.
Listeners, if you didn't hear Allana before, she's been on our podcast twice. The first one was Nature and Animals as Spiritual Teachers. And then we moved into an introduction to modern shamanism and shamanism. I'm doing it again. And this time we're going to talk about a lot of things, especially the last podcast and some experiences Allana had after listening to it. And also, we haven't heard that yet. We made her stop so we could save it for the podcast.
Yes.
We'll talk about like a good definition for shamanism, some more basics on healing and maybe getting into that some more. And spirit guides and animal guides and etc. You would not believe us, the ideas and things that she can teach you guys and me and Missy. So Allana, give us a good definition that we can put down for shamanism.
Okay, so I wrote this today as far as just what I felt that was what I do and what I felt was sort of encompassed the definition of modern shamanism. So a healer helping others to reconnect and reunite to their own innate body, mind, and soul and spirit wisdom using modern tools of holistic medicine, science, technology, and the quantum field to expand our perception and belief of health and healing.
I think that's
a big mouthful.
I think that is a mouthful.
Yeah.
It's like shamanism. It's a good one though. That's a really good definition.
Yeah.
And like shaman. I was
Lisa.
just going to say, like we were talking about before the podcast, most of what we wanted to talk about is the actual healing. And all that definition is it is healing. Even just hearing it feels healing, you know?
Yeah. And the reconnection and reuniting. So it's, the remembering, the re part, like we're, that I feel is really important because we have innate wisdom, right? We know when something feels right or, so it's nice to combine that. And we had talked about what modern shamanism might mean in the last show. We talked about modern medicine. So it's all of these things put together: science, technology, the quantum field, which we now know is basically what we tap into when we're doing healing and psychic work and mediumship. So what is healing? For me, healing is rebalancing our spiritual ecology by addressing our whole being, the physical body, the pain body, the mental body, energetic, emotional bodies. And there's I think there's in some schools of study, there's over 9 or 10 bodies within our body. So I like to call it the spiritual ecology that, we tap into as healers and helpers. So Lisa, I feel like, the work that you do, that you do that. We tap in. I just like to put, luminous energy field. I like the spiritual ecology because it is who we are with all of those bodies. So within that resides who we are and who we are becoming, who we've been, who we are, who we're becoming. Seeing ourselves and others as whole and complete without labeling, projecting, judging. Our human body dies a physical death, but our energy and soul continues to heal and learn. So I'm sure there's others that might have a different school of thought, but I'm going to say, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably get that our soul is on a never ending journey. Right. We're in this body, this time and space, in this, person who we are, but it encompasses all of that. So the idea that, healing, all of a sudden you're going to be complete and whole and miraculous and healed is a miracle, and it can happen. We've seen spontaneous healings. We know that it happens, but really what it is it's the lessons and all of those things that we carry within our spiritual ecology that we get to heal. And it's like layers and layers, right? Onion layers, layers and layers, ogre layers.
Yeah.
And so it's basically encompasses everything that we are. So, there, is no way of getting out of death. And however you're going to die, whether it be by,
don't tell me that. Shush.
Debt, D-E-B-T.
Debt. Yeah, I hear you there.
Tax, was it death and taxes? Debt, so I think that's important to know, because we as healers, it's like, I'm a healer, but what are we healing? Well, we're healing the spiritual ecology and the energetic bodies. And that is really amazing. And to know that we have those things, even the unseen pieces, those are all unseen. When we talk about energy, it's unseen. We deal with the physical because we can see it. We feel like it's tangible. We can touch it.
The sense of sight is really powerful, overwhelming. I mean, it feels like it's all over my body. It feels like I have eyeballs. You know what I mean? It feels like it's just like, but I'm not very visual, and it's kind of interesting. It's a little off topic, but I had read an article where there were scientists trying to find the science behind psychic abilities. Yeah. And they were talking about how some people who have a high pulse rate, like I do, I have a very high pulse rate, it's fast. They say their eyes will dilate, and retract over and over again every time you have your heartbeat. So mine's always like real fast. So I'm not seeing, I'm not real visual. I see it all. It's all there, and it really affects me, but not quite like, say, an artist or somebody who's got a lot lower heart rate. So it makes sense to me. So they're explaining some of this stuff with physiology and stuff like that. So I thought that was very interesting.
Well, that's very Go ahead, Misty. You go.
I was just saying that was really cool.
Yeah, so here's another thing.
I still have the article. I'll send it to you if you want. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I do.
So I appreciate that, because the other thing that I've learned about, myself and others that are, so I call myself a highly creative person, because I always have been, and, art stuff, and, even being a hairdresser, I do, it's art basically. Yeah. And then, having a great imagination also takes into play with being a creative person as well as a psychic person, right?
Yeah, it does.
Use your imagination.
So, what you were saying, Lisa, and then let's put in the creative piece that you addressed as well. Those are the people that, when you can tap into imagination, that's part of also journeying, any type of meditation. When you do journeying, right? You got to have a really good imagination. So the cool thing about that is that, for me personally, doing healing work, is that those things have all really worked for me, being a creative person, having a good imagination. And also I've always been highly attracted to signs and symbols in nature. And then the more that you get into learning about, signs and symbols that are around the world that are common, just of what they are, a definition, and then you get to add your own little spin to it. You know? But let's see, where was I with that? What were we talking about? The journey, the meditation, the imagination, the being able to, like we shared the last time about imagining your, feet growing roots and going into the ground and, doing grounding work, right? Or you don't physically have to have your feet on the ground. You could be laying down with shoes on. You can still imagine that you have roots growing out of your feet, right? So those things are important when I think it comes to the idea of shamanism and doing journeying and identifying causation of physical and other illnesses and pain and all of the things that affect us. So there's also a huge thing about thoughts and beliefs about healing. So, because I'm kind of going back to the healing, the shamanism and the healing, things that we do for healing others. The first thing with healing is healing yourself, and that's an ongoing journey as well, with all the layers and everything we talked about, and that's constant. There's never no ending with this, even in death. Right. I think we already touched on that. So there's no getting to this place of complete, ever stopping in your healing journey. You just don't. It's like, learning. It's the same thing. So learning about yourself, right? Learning about root causes of why your beliefs and your pains and things that we carry, and ancestral, carrying things from our ancestors. We also know a lot of this now is being proven in, medicine, science, right? Quantum field.
About time.
I mean,
about
right?
time, yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of amazing. And so, I think we also touched on being able to travel, journey for someone or for yourself.
Did we really describe that for the listeners, what that
Not
experience
really.
is like? Because I think
I don't think so.
That we were going to talk also about spirit guides and spirit animals. This is a good time to like bring that in. Because I didn't know what it was, a shaman journey. It just kind of happened. I was like with my guide, this is when I was younger, in my early 30s, when I first tried it. I didn't know I was trying it, but I was just spending time with my guide, and some friends were over and it just happened. Somebody got a drum out and somebody started playing Some Dead Can Dance, and I just like, okay, let's go, I'll try this. And I did. You got your rattle. Exactly.
Love it.
So
what is it like for you? What is your experience with journeying?
Well, it's interesting because so the first time that I really understood that I was going back in time to heal a time and space, I didn't plan it. It was through Kundalini yoga. Ooh. And
wow.
it was a particular 11-minute meditation. I'm not giving it nearly enough credit. I'm a student. Okay. I'm not a teacher of Kundalini yoga, but I am a person who journeys, and I journey for others. And so I did not expect what happened. And this is probably a good, I don't know, let's probably 3 years ago now. So I was in a 11-minute meditation, and it was to heal the mother wound. And it was through this program that I was doing. And so this was one module, it was healing the mother wound. So there was actually music. And so it transported me to, and holding positions and breathing. 11 minutes. Did I say that 3 times now? That may not seem like a long time, but it really is a long time when you're, and a lot can happen in that time frame. Yeah.
Especially because time gets really distorted.
When you're trying to concentrate like that. Yeah. 11 minutes is a long time.
Yeah. So what I remember was actually the music started it with, I basically was transported back in time when I lived in Utah, and I lived along the lakeside, and I listened to, it was Foo Fighters music, but this, for some reason, this particular song for the Kundalini yoga practice reminded me of that. And so I got transported there, and I got to heal. I got transported not only by the side of the lake, but into my home that we lived, and packed to a very traumatic time for all of us in that house, and including my dogs. And so in that journey, that one time, I got to see everybody for who they were and their roles in that time and space, including the dogs. I got to heal and forgive myself for the mother, right? For specifically at that time, for the dogs, failing them because they started ripping each other's throats out because we were fighting in that house. There was chaos. And, one of the dogs at the time, her name was Blessing in Disguise. That was her birth name. Her name was Eve. And I knew at the time that was very big because they were showing us, this is what, this has been a big lesson for me, that, the way that animals react with us, and that we are a pack. And if your leaders are out of whack, then everybody's out of whack. And so,
they are.
So what I got to do was I got to go in and take pieces of that, as well as the land and the house, and each one of us, my ex-husband, my son, my daughter, myself, the dogs, the home, the land, I think I said that, and the time and space, and to do, the forgiveness. And, but then we did that again because I repeated that practice, that module another time. And I got to go back again very easily. And I got to heal a little deeper and have a little deeper understanding of what was, happening and active in that time and space. And so the interesting thing about that work is that not only does that work for me, but it helps to heal everything around that. So every individual, the dogs, the land, the house, and these things are all, the land and the house. That's important. I mean, I knew we could have a whole other podcast about that, because I've had many, many, many experiences with land and houses, and then that house, the Saratoga house. So
thank you for sharing that, what a journey is like for you, because it's hard to explain, it's hard to describe.
So there's a feeling, and for me, because I'm all senses engaged, and that's kind of what you were describing about the vision around your body.
Yeah.
It's like you get all the information. I call it information, right? How you receive your information. Yeah. And sometimes to me, what it felt like was almost like a movie, because I am a, so everybody does these things differently, but because I have a great imagination and I'm also a writer, I see this as well, plays out in a scene. But a lot of it is feeling.
Yeah.
How do you feel? What comes up, what information is imparted. And then there's simple journeys too, where, sometimes if I'm working with a client, I don't know what's going to come up.
Oh yeah.
Right. So,
that's the best one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so that's sort of a, and here's the thing for me is that everyone's individual, right? Everybody's unique. And so that journey is unique to them. So, and we could get into deeper levels of journeying, but I think that that's not really what we're talking about today, because I think you had mentioned it too, Lisa, in the last podcast about the different levels of
shamanism,
existence, right? Shamanism. Yeah. So when we travel, down into the earth, and we're in this time and space, and we're also above in the universe. So basically there's no time and there's no space. Right. We're in the here and now when we do the journeying. That's how I see it. And that's how it feels to me. So I like that. I think it's pretty awesome.
I think journeying is just one of the best. I've done it more since our last podcast. I did try it again, but it used to be something I did quite often. But the guides, I don't do it without my guides. You're there. They're like, it doesn't work or something. Maybe it's my restriction. I need my guide, Sam, and my Morgana, she's a newer addition to the travels, but maybe not.
Exactly.
Yeah, never know.
So
true. He used to be my cat Gandalf, but then he was born.
Wow, I love that. That's the best.
Yeah, he's
amazing. Wow, we could have a whole other talk about that too.
But that's
just different guides that come in.
Oh,
but I work with a team, and I also work with my clients' teams, right? So our teams come in and help. It's the helpers and healers.
Oh, yes.
Right? The helpers and healers that show up when we do this work.
And they're usually ancestors. For me,
they're ancestors, mostly ancestors, animals, also things like, and I get a lot of animals that show up. Also things like, we're talking about signs and symbols. So things that show up in the spiritual ecology journey. So when I'm within your energy field and we're doing the rebalancing work, finding things that are unwanted within the energetic body, basically, or within the body that are, there. Blocks, causes of physical pain, mental illness as well, things that are trapped in our body. Does this make sense?
It does make sense to me. I know. Yeah. Because I've read about this stuff and studied it. And actually I've found you can have practical applications to shamanism too, not just spiritual. And by that, I mean, like for me personally, this whole year, I've ever since April of last year, not this year, 2020, I had foot problems. And then I had back problems, and then I had neck problems, and then they're gone. But I worked on something that was a root cause, and I don't really feel comfortable talking about it on the podcast. But I think there was a spiritual root cause too. I mean, these things are there. I'm doing, the treatments, the physical therapy and stuff. I'm trying to get away from surgery. But since I took this one step, I really needed to do, it's like nothing hurts.
I'm amazed. Well, I really am amazed.
It hurts a little, but not much.
I'd like to address that for a minute, because one of the first things that as an energy medicine practice that I didn't really know anything about until I was introduced to it in 2005 from one of my beautiful practitioner healing friends. We were in Utah and I was in a very distressed time, and I got to go be certified as a practitioner for emotional freedom technique.
Ooh.
And so you guys may have heard of this. It's shortened up as emotional freedom technique. So EFT.
Oh, is that the finger tapping?
It's tapping. Yes. So,
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
That is a bioenergy healing modality, practice. It works. And it works so well that it's been used now. It's used in practice. I mean, it's very well known, as well as for post-traumatic stress disorder for veterans.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. And so it's been, it's really amazing. And so there's a lot on emotional freedom technique. So I felt lucky that I got trained by one of the early founders of emotional freedom technique.
Wow.
And so it changed my life. It changed my life completely. And I also turned it into a walking meditation, emotional freedom technique. I used to walk a lot and hike with my dog at the time, and would do the tapping while I was in motion. And it was amazing.
That's cool. I never
amazing.
thought to try that. Yeah.
Well, I like to walk and do all those things. So it's like anything in meditation in motion, right? Not plug in, like be with, we talked about that before.
Yeah.
Be in what's around you. Exactly. The here and now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think I got off track there. We were talking about,
tell
oh my
me
gosh.
You got to tell us a story about what happened to you after the last podcast.
Yes, we're dying to hear that.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I know what it was. Before I left, the emotion freedom technique, the reason why it works so well is it goes and it's uncomfortable, but you deal with your negative stuff first, the shadow work, the stuff that's not well, and then you raise up your vibration, you bring down your emotion so that you can be more of an even, balanced space.
That's
sense. Important to know. Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of crazy. All right. So I wrote notes so I won't get off track. I'm calling this my story of coyote and owl. So we recorded this on July 19th, which was a Monday. And I believe, so over the weekend, I started putting this all together because it was so crazy that I had to take notes of dates and stuff like that. So the weekend that before this podcast, I had an owl visitation in the backyard. So, it's dusk. I'm in the backyard with my stepson. And there might have been someone else, I don't remember, but him and I saw the owl. And last time I had seen their barred owls, BARRED. And I have a wash behind me here, a channel that goes out to the ocean.
Washes out west. Yeah, it's like a creek. So people in the east.
This is actually dry. This is actually a channel. I think I called it a wash, but it's actually a channel. It's called the Talbot Channel. Okay, so it's we're at the beginning of it. It goes from here 6 miles to the ocean. So we get a lot of wildlife that comes back here. And we saw the owl. And the last time the owl had shown up, it was in December, and it hit my house. That's and that was like this weird ending of I felt like that animal took a hit. There was a curse with it that was ended of my mom's family. There was my mom had stitches in her for from August to December, that 2020. So last year. And when that owl hit the house, that's the day she found out that they were stitches left in her. She had infection.
Oh my.
Okay, for all those months, she had infection. And we found the day the owl hit the house, she had gone to the doctor and came to me and said that there was stitches that were causing the infection. So, which was completely appropriate for that owl and everything about that. And I don't really want to get into that story because that's not our story. So the last time that owl showed up, it was when it hit the house. And so, you know, we were like, oh my God, there's an owl again. Okay. So then we had, we did our recording. We had all those weird audio things that showed up. We were laughing a lot. We were really excited. I think we had really high energy that day.
Yes. I believe that.
I had messaged a friend of mine earlier in the day, and we do this Marco Polo app. So it's like you leave a recording and she can listen to it. And then she leaves me a recording and I can listen to it. It's kind of cool. So that night, I liked our podcast. I thought it was good. And then that night I listened to her message, and I normally don't do that. It was sort of out of character for me. I usually listen in the morning, you know, while I'm doing whatever. And for some reason, I just was like, oh, I'm gonna listen to her message. Well, her message was weird. Like, and her and I have talked about it since multiple times because of everything else that unfolded with it. But it was like, it wasn't her. Like, it was weird. And there was things that I don't even know how to explain it. And I was really kind of off put by it. So anyway, I woke up the next morning. My dog needed to pee, 6:15 a.m. I looked at the clock, and my habit pattern at that time was I ran downstairs, go open the door for her. She pees. I come back in the house so I can pee. And then I meet her back downstairs or whatever. So I ran upstairs, opened the door, ran upstairs, and I hear this like yelp scream thing from her, but just this like surprise yelp thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I ran to the window up here in this room, and it opens on one end where I have a screen on one end and I can open the other end. So I can actually poke out the window, right?
Okay.
I'm on the second floor. And in my backyard, nose to nose, about a foot away, is my Jack Russell and a coyote.
Oh my gosh.
No.
This is a full-grown coyote, and it's beautiful. And they're in the same position, staring each other down. So I broke the spell, because what it was is I know that my dog, if she moved, she was dead. If she moved and she would be dead. It would have been able to get
couldn't take her eyes.
Eat.
Yeah.
Nope. So she was in a power position, right? And so what I saw when I, saw them was them a foot apart and in that position. And then I went really big, Penny, get in the house. And it broke the spell. And she went right into the house. And you get out of here. Big voice, big, whatever, and clapped a few times, and it just went right over the fence. So I ran downstairs, she was in the house. She's shaking. Of course, I woke my house up. She's like on adrenaline. I'm on adrenaline,
Yeah.
And so that changed everything, because basically my dogs lost their freedom, even though I knew there was coyote back here. But I had never had them in my yard, and we had never had that confrontation. And since the pandemic, we've had not just here, but in, across the country, I'm going to speak of, we've had a lot of explosion in animal population. So we already had a coyote issue here, but now we have a bigger coyote issue here. And the problem with the coyotes is that you can't do anything about them. They cannot be relocated. They can't be trapped. They can't be killed by law, all of these things. And so basically we have to live with the coyote, and we have to be proactive with our pets. Okay. And with our, whatever we do to haze them, get them out of here. So, excuse me. So I'm going to tell you that coyote freaked me out. Yeah. And my friend's message freaked me out. And then you released the podcast, and I listened to it, and I heard rattles, singing bowls, chimes.
I heard the singing bowl in one. Yeah.
And voices.
What'd you hear them say?
So there was a male voice at the end when I was saying, we were signing off, and I was saying, if you wanted to work with me, there was like a male voice. I don't know what it was saying. I'm sure if we could break down the podcast, or break down the audio, we can maybe, whatever. But what I thought was amazing was that those things, even though, let's say it was my headphones, okay, even if it was my headphones, the appropriateness of when they showed up, like right away with Misty's healing. When I started to talk about, which I will talk a little bit more about today, about, you know, curses and, you know, hitchhikers, spiritual hitchhikers, you know, intrusions, you know, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I started to go into that direction. And so I was kind of stopped. And so I got kind of freaked out because the coyote message to me was trickster energy. And I'm going to say that during the week, I had some weird family stuff show up, and conversation with one of my siblings that, you know, was interesting. And then just the things not appearing to be what they are. Right. And then messages that I didn't expect, and apologies, and I mean, deep family forgiveness, like ends of cycles.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in the weirdest way. And it's a little personal too, like you were saying. I don't really want to go too deep into that, but then the coyotes showed up every freaking day since that day. They've been here pretty much every day.
Wow.
There started off being one, now there's 3.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And they, believe it or not, they sleep. I could be here and I chase them off, but they sleep right where I can visibly see them out my window.
That's so weird.
And I know, I swear to God, they could be. And I go up on my back wall and I look, I can see from one block to the next. We have a bridge over here. Okay. I can see, and now I see how they blend in and what their habit patterns are, because it's been since freaking July 19th or July 20th, right? The day, Tuesday morning. Oh, and I had a healing session that morning too with a client. I forgot about that. That was beautiful, but that was amazing. After the coyote. So there was all these things that showed up with it. And then the coyotes attacked our tortoise. He was sleeping on the side of our house. You know, we'd never had a problem with him. And they actually got him out of his little hut, dragged him out, clawed him, flipped him over, tried to eat him, tried to get at him.
Oh my God.
Tried to damage him. But, you know, luckily he's a tortoise, right?
Yeah.
But they left him flipped over until we found him. He was, you know, scared and then a little in shock. But he was okay. But that also was freaking me out. The reason why this was showing up too, which is bizarre, is because I was leaving to go away for a week. And I'm the keeper of the dogs. And so we have, you know, the predator in the backyard and I'm leaving. And so I'm, you know, having my mom come over during the day, and, you know, we're having to, basically our lives have revolved around now the predator in the backyard.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's been really interesting. Okay. So then I think that, so the 24th of July was a Saturday night. We were in, so the next weekend, we were in, my husband's stepfather went into the hospital during the week. So a few days after our podcast, and a couple of days after the owl. And then Saturday night, the 24th, we were over at his home with all his family and stuff. And he was in the hospital on hospice. And so that night, another barred owl flew over us. And again, it was Kenny and I, my stepson, that saw the owl. And we recognized it and recognized each other with it, that we had seen it the second time now. Well, the very next morning, Jerry died. We got the message that he had passed away in the morning. And I knew it because the owl showed up. So owls are, you know, owls have a lot of, and coyotes. And we could talk about them as, you know, what's their medicine, right? Well, coyotes are tricksters. They're also the foils and whatever of humans. There's a lot of stories about coyote, and they're usually lessons for humans of things not to do, you know, or, you know, right. Things like that, or just real, you know, consequences, or things not appearing to be what they are. And then the owl, owls are, you know, I've always worked with owl medicine. When I've done some fire ceremonies, same type of owl has showed up in my backyard during the ceremonies.
Wow.
So for me, owl has been an ally in the wisdom and the night and the moon and the goddess, right? And the crone and all of those really cool things. But owl is also a harbinger of death.
I've heard
and
that.
People really fear the owl. There's a lot of fear around owl. There's a lot of lore around owl and, walking that in between time, because owls come at dusk and dawn, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, when these things happen, I see them, you can't, I just knew I was a little in shock. There was a lot. That's a lot.
It's a lot in a really short time too.
In a short time. And then I got a phone call. It was a voice message. Now, I have to also tell you that by the death of my stepfather, he was the end of a cycle for us of death that we've had since my husband and I got married 6 years ago. And our wedding anniversary was August 8th, the Lionsgate. All right. I did that. I didn't really realize it was the Lionsgate until I went, 888, because we got married in 2015, right? Numerology, right? But in 2015, I had some weird fucked up thing that happened. Sorry again, people. But it was one of the really fucked up thing that happened to me. And so it started, I believe I had been visited and pulled out. I mean, like, in other words, pinpointed or found by a person who meant me harm in the disguise as a healer that I did not invite into my space, who actually intruded upon my space. I was working at the time in a salon suite in public, and I had my door closed, and he'd walk right in. And it was just a very disturbing incident. And I basically kicked him out of my space because I was threatened. And I believe that he cursed me. And the very next day, I was supposed to go do a wedding, 7:30 in the morning. I wake up to leave my house, and my bird, who was 19 years old, I had since she was born, fell from her top of her perch and had a seizure for 3 hours.
Oh my God.
So, you can again go, well, really, whatever. Okay. I look at things differently than most people. I knew that was something.
Right.
But I didn't know the power in it yet. And as the day would progress, there was things that started showing up that scared the crap out of me, because I knew exactly what it was. It was like there was ill intention towards me, and my bird took the hit. And I was not supposed to go to a happy wedding. So then I had my wedding, a few months later, and we had pretty much Jerry, who was the beginning of the cycle. He ended up in the hospital, and we couldn't go on our honeymoon. And then every year to now, we had a major person in our life die around the same time of year.
Wow.
And so at the end of this, so when I got this phone call or this voice message, it was the same accent as the person who had entered my studio, asking me for this weird business proposition thing. It was, was whatever it was. And I addressed it. And I don't want to get into this either, but it, I was going to say, freak me out again, because and when I say freak me out, what it is it pushes these buttons of like, there's some other forces at work here that have my attention that are not positive.
Right.
And so what happened was I was meant to deal with it and end it. And this felt like an ending. And we also had we've had some other generational curses, and we've had some curses, believe it or not, through an animal, the hunting of an animal that was taken without permission off sacred grounds that has affected my husband's family. Wow. That I then became involved with. That's another whole long story. But that's why this story and the way I'm sharing it is, important, because, I lived in a wilderness area in Utah, and I did not have the active animals. Well, that's not true. A lot of mine came in death on the road, animals jumping in front of my car, extreme animal things. But I had mountain lions that were, active in my backyard, and coyotes that were active in my backyard. I had dogs then too, but I live in Southern California, where you wouldn't think things like this happen, where you've got the top predator in my backyard, and then, the owls and the hawks. Like I had a hawk in my courtyard yesterday on the ground hunting, all spread out and pretty. And I watched him for a while. Yeah. You know, so that's a messenger, but he's he's grounding. He's on the ground.
Yeah. So he's bringing
but he was also
down.
hunting. Yeah. And he was beautiful. And it was the colors, everything about it. So these are the things that happen every day. And there's some of them are extreme. Like to me, this feels like extreme, but this is also stuff that happens to me. This is just one story.
Yeah.
But it's a lot. It had death. It had family generational curses. It had weird other curses, beginning and endings. It had, also the other thing I did some a little more research on coyote, and what showed up is not only trickster, but monster slayer.
Really?
Ravens and coyotes. So chasing away the monsters. So I know that about ravens. And I know ravens.
Yeah. It could be like the coyotes could be like you facing your fears, kind of.
Absolutely. And because I also have very active in my life here, and in one of my clients actually yesterday, was it yesterday? I think it was. Very active wolf energy, big wolf energy, and in spirit. Wolf is now my ally, and wolf has always been an ally for me and a teacher. And how wolf would be a teacher. This is actually something that I used to do, like some teachings about wolf and wolf awareness. Yeah, because it teaches us so much about ourselves. And then if listeners, if you're especially if you identify as a woman or you're a woman, it's Women Who Run with the Wolves. The book Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, PhD, is one of the best books about the wild woman archetype. And I started to reread it again because it just kind of almost fell out at me. I had been knowing that I needed to address my helping the wolves, and really then coyote shows up, right?
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I didn't even get that either until recently when I started talking about that with someone, because wolf has always beckoned to me to teach about wolf to people that don't think wolf's important. And so, like in Utah in the 90s, I think it was 95, I lived there. They had the first reintroducing the wolves, the gray wolves, into Yellowstone. And so I was all about that. And I had a friend that gave me articles about that. And so I was well read on it and loved it, and recently read some amazing book about that time and what's happened up to now. And then now we're in a completely different time with the wolves, because they have completely thrived, but they're still hunted as they were back when they were eradicated.
Right.
So, and they hate it. I mean, people hate the coyotes here, hate them.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure they have nowhere to go too, right?
They have nowhere to go.
I mean, we're taking over,
Yeah. And, people will fight tooth and nail with you about, well, they weren't here first. It doesn't matter whether they were here first or not. We're all here surviving.
Right.
And we have a lot of construction right now here. This is we have a freeway that goes through this town, the 405 freeway. And so they've been doing all the bridges, and that disrupted. Now, here's an interesting thing. Not only old coyote dens, but Native American burial grounds.
Yeah.
And they had to stop the bridge work, and they wouldn't disclose where, because they didn't want people going and disrupting. They have to stop, they have to contact people, they have to do whatever they've got to do before they can do any that's by law. So that was interesting. So that's
I just had a thought. I'm interrupting a little bit, but totally interrupting. But I just was thinking about coyote, and something coyotes always make me think of is survival. They always survive. And to think that something that can always survive, an animal that big that can always survive, it's pretty big compared to a roach that always survives. But
that's right.
This came and found sanctuary in your backyard. To me, that says a lot about you.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
And I recognize that as well. And they came to your yard.
That's right. That's right.
It's a safe place for them.
And here's an interesting. That's right. Thank you for acknowledging that. And I'm gonna share with you that at first I was all about. And not at first, like I'm not harboring them or letting them, it's like, I know, I'm an animal person. Plus I have a lot of I have a lot of training in how to, like I've been a hiker and an outdoors person in my life, and I've lived in the wilderness area. You have to know how to handle animals, wild animals,
Yeah.
right? And stand your ground, and how to handle with, a bear compared to a mountain lion, compared to a coyote, whatever. And so I thought about that, and the real lessons it has to teach. Now, I think I already mentioned this, but this was kind of amazing to me. I've had enough time in with them now. They've been here long enough where I'm seeing their patterns.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing them outside, and then they're, they move on, they stretch, they scratch, they go off and get lunch. I chase them off, they come back. And then here's my dog doing the same thing. And I'm all about the canine.
Yeah.
And a lot of, like we talked about the journeying earlier, the whole out of whack canine pack.
Yeah.
That's when I learned about, really, that was immersed in my face. It's like, we did not have a pack leader. We were in chaos, and the dogs won't have it. Somebody's got to be a pack leader.
Right. Right.
So you're right.
And that's
they won't make it if there isn't.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of dog behavior is, you have to understand that, their way of thinking about it, not the way you want them to be.
Right.
They're looking at you as, for leadership, and if you don't have it, then they're going to basically take over.
Yeah.
So
and it stresses them out too.
It does.
Like, they don't want that role,
That's exactly right. Yeah. And well, yes, because you're the leader, you're the human,
right.
Which is the larger predator.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. So thank you for bringing that up, because that's actually, I appreciate that, because it's really changed everything. Like, I went for a walk today. I've known they're back there, but having them right there. And I've asked that question too, like, okay, really, why there?
Yeah. They're safe. And it's not a safe spot. It's not a safe spot looking at it from like someone's yard, in the house. People looking at them through windows. That's not safe, but they feel safe. They feel safe there. They're not going any. You're going to have some cubs.
Oh, God. So, well, now here's
Coyote
the thing. I'm also chasing them off. I want you to know that, because it's a proper thing to do. And then when we had the turtle thing happen, that's when it kicked into.
Sorry, we had an interruption as expected. And because the computers are being insistent, the AI are saying, hey man, talking about the shaman stuff, talk about us. They're babies, talking about cubs. Allana, do you have any advice for listeners who want to learn more about any of the things you've talked about, especially the animals? That's like your gift, and one of your many gifts is to really communicate to people about animals and what their experience is,
Right. Well, I think we kind of touched on a little bit last time too, which is just pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to what's going on wherever you are. Something that you take for granted, even, let's say, something that shows up in your house like a moth, and it keeps showing up. There's messages in that moth for you. Okay. And you think it's just a mundane animal and you want to get it out of your house. Or like spider is huge when you have spiders show up. That's another one. Spider is a big feminine energy, depending upon, of course, again, the type of spider, because you can get deep into, the message of the animal, but just knowing certain basic, things. But also ask yourself, anytime you have animal encounters, like, what information comes up right away with it? How does it make you feel? And then just start there.
And that's a great idea.
Right. And then it makes it simple. Yeah, simple. And then you can go and deepen as you want. And then, especially if you start seeing an animal multiple times in different ways, and it could even be, a real life animal, and then a representation of the animal, and then you see the animal on television, that kind of thing. If you see repetitive patterns, we had talked about that with symbolism and signs, repetitive sightings, repetitive patterns, repetitive music, things like that. That's trying to get your attention.
Yeah.
So there's also, as far as animals go, certain animals that are active at certain times in your life. So, for example, coyote for me right now. And it's appropriate, because I'm also really honing in on what it is that I am offering for this work that I do with healing. So thank you for acknowledging, Lisa, my gift of working with animals, because it is where I started that felt natural. And that was my first connection. My first real connection was animals and being outside in nature.
Yeah. I hear you there.
Love it,
Spirit.
love it, love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well,
The connection
Allana,
with spirit.
I just love having you. Thank you so much for doing this
Thank
a third
you.
time. We love doing
Thank
this.
Yes,
you.
thank you so much.
You teach me so much, and it's just.
I know, I love it.
And speaking of repetition, you have to be repetitive with me to teach me anything. So thank you. You're like, oh, we talked about this before. And I was like, do it again.
Yeah.
But
Misty, I don't want to stop.
I know, right? Misty,
Yeah.
thank you as always.
Thank you.
I want to thank
both.
I'd like to thank our sponsor, Everclear. Everclear is an advice app. Everclear.com is a website too. And you can get advice from empaths and psychics. And the goal there is to find the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. And listeners, like I said before, I love you. And I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.